Um, Grand Rising. I the recording that I had been doing just ended, ran out of memory, or the phone overheated, and I was been talking about. So I wanted to finish it off. I was talking about the revolution that had taken place, and the reason I was getting into the reasons why Charles II was martyred. Yeah, and I'm saying that basically that's a bit of history that we don't know. How was he martyred and why was he martyred? Yeah, he was beheaded. They needed to behead the king because Cromwell, and this is where I got to, Cromwell and his people at that time, many of whom were, some of them were mulatto. That mulatto means we would have been mixed race, dual heritage, biracial. Some of them might not have been. Okay, I could say more about that. But what it meant was the Cromwell, and as he's doing whatever he's doing, trying to install on behalf of the Pope, they wanted to of Rome. They were wanting to install their monarchy, so they needed to get the current monarchy off the throne, and the only way that the only way that they had contrived to get the king off the throne was to get the king to commit treason, or to be seen to have committed treason. Up until then, these laws didn't exist. They didn't exist. So they created the situation. It's a fascinating program that I watched about it, about how Cromwell manipulated people, blackmailed people, to create these laws, or to create a system of legislation that meant that they could behead the king on the grounds of treason and bring in somebody else. So they'd contrived it. They'd created the situation. They'd created the legal framework, and that legal framework exists today. It's the basis of how the legal profession can go about dispossessing people, anyone, not just of their lands, their properties, make your children of war the court, but also to dispossess you of your life if it sees fit. And it can contrive. It's a fascinating program. But you can sort of see how that has happened today. How the law, two-tier policing. Why do you think you shouldn't have that? Everybody's meant two-tier policing, two-tier education, two-tier this, two-tier that, and it's been a contrivance to keep certain groups of people in a position of power and to have dominion and control over literally the resources of every individual on the planet and the land, air and water that they utilize to sustain their bodies, to sustain our bodies. They want to control the whole lot. Now, so that's, hopefully I brought that bit of the video to a conclusion. And for the rest of it, I suppose I was linking it to Jasara and Nasara law, and I was going to talk about UNDRIP as being, again, one of those things that I'm not supposed to talk about, one of the things I'm not supposed to know about. I'm not supposed to know about, as I mentioned in the previous connecting video to this, is I'm not supposed to know about the secret Treaty of Verona. Secret. I'm not supposed to know about quiet weapons for, is it quiet weapons? Silent weapons for quiet wars, or something like that, which every CEO um, barristers, lawyers, anybody in a sort of high-ranking position has to sign off on. This is not, what's going on in the world. People have signed up to it. And I suppose that's where I'd gotten to in that Jasara and Asara and UNDRIP sees a return to the Constitution, which has been violated, and then because again the Constitution was created by lawyers, by the priesthood, to create a system where they can say they're offering us a service to manage the wealth of the nation. That's what the UK Crown is supposed to do, is manage the resources and wealth of the nation. You're not meant to manage it, actually. Well, the corporation is meant to do that for the betterment of the nation. You're not supposed to be nicking it and paying your mates off and then leaving the people that are paying your taxes, paying you to do a job that you're not actually doing. So again, Jasara Nasara is a return to that, but also UNDRIP is about a restoration of the land back to the indigenous, Aboriginal, and organic people of the earth, and that is also occurring. There are a couple of interesting revelations that have been made about what Elon Musk is saying about the indigenous and Aboriginal. And I think he's going to say something about the indigenous and Aboriginal in the UK, and I think he's going to do it via Farage. That's my view. So Elon Musk, Trump, Putin, there was somebody else. Elon Musk. There's quite a few people who are starting to talk about, the Queen in one of her speeches. I think it might have been 2016, and another one that she did before she died, and maybe in a Christmas speech where she's actually talking about, apparently, I'm yet to see the video myself, but I've seen the transcript of that speech where she's basically alluding to who the true identity of the characters that are in the Bible, okay, which has got a major implication. I mean, I know this, but it ought to be one of her forebearers. That it should be obvious that he wrote the Bible. That's why it's called the King James Bible. It's King James. But but that line, the Stuart line, that's where with Charles I, that's where it ended. That's where it ended. With his beheaded Cromwell coming in and doing his thing. I think there might have been a few more incidences because I think the bloodline was still around, and some queen went and called in Mary Queen of Scots, again another melanated woman, called her down to London under false premises. And it was a cousin, I can't remember what her name is or was, but beheaded her own cousin because they were all related. I don't know if there's some blackmail going on, because that's what seems to happen. Anyway, I thought I'd just quickly do that one. What can I sort of say about what's going on in the rest of the world? Macron, France, in the toilet, and I was just saying in the previous video, going down the toilet because they can no longer exploit the countries that it has put under military regime. They can no longer, through force of arms, rape, pillage and plunder the people and the resources of their countries and then displace them all across Europe. African countries go back. Syria. Now, see, again, that's one of the things. There are implications for this. A lot of the Syrians are going out. And there are millions of Syrians in the West, in Europe. We don't know how many. And Syria is just the first of countries where people, their countries are being restored back to what it was before the invaders came along and again created mischief and mayhem. Yeah, Assad's just the first. So there'll be, because there's lots of people in the diaspora of these Middle Eastern countries that are going to be wanting to return home. I've heard that some of the Pakistanis are starting to return home. Yeah, with what Trump has announced, what it is that he's going to do in terms of immigration, people have got wind of that. Even though it's happening in the States, it's got repercussions back here in the UK, because people are recognizing that at some point, because we're always following what America does, so we're going to do it. So all this illegal immigration, it's going to start, and people are going to be going home, but they'll be going home based upon Jasara and Nasara, where everyone is going to be getting back what it is that has been robbed by the West back to those countries. If you look at what's happening in Iraq at the moment, they're revaluing their currency. And I've heard that that's supposed to kickstart that process that BRICS has been involved in, or that BRICS is about, rather, which is about 209 countries trading amongst themselves, not using the dollar. That's going to have major implications for the West. That's why we've got high inflation, as I've said in the previous video. Okay, what else can I report on today? I've talked about Syria. I've talked about France. Germany's in the toilet. Their economic and industrial base is collapsing. Volkswagen, Mercedes, you know, they've all heavily invested in this EV woke. Don't get me wrong. I think I had my Tesla. Great car. Yeah, okay, it runs on fast as a car. Sorry, I'm not saying there aren't better, but it's good. It's good. It's good. It's just a shame that the technology that is used, first of all, just to sort of say, it's not new. It's ancient technology. And it's not the latest technology that is available to us as human beings. You know, because when Elon didn't invent shit, you know what I mean? He's just a good businessman. Make no mistake about it. He's very good at exploiting other people's ideas. That's all. That most entrepreneurs, that's all they do, is take people's ideas and make money out of them. You know, and they've got backing from whatever sources to invest in other people's ideas, take them away and claim them as their own. Typical. It's the same gameplay. However, as I say, there is a desire, there is a on the part of 95% of the world, actually 80% of the rest of the world, to do something different, to be something different. They don't want to be ruled don't want to be ruled full stop, and to be under threat of violence all the time if you don't do what the West wants you to do. Don't do what Klaus Schwab wants to do. Don't eat bugs, you know, which, you know, rather than having eating meat. They don't want you to eat meat, and the meat that they do providing for you is contaminated. The water's contaminated. The foods are contaminated. So all the pharmaceutical companies, they're all really worried about RFK Jr. and what it is that he's been assigned to do. Yeah. Again, you can sort of see the impact of just the idea of him coming in and what it is that he's going to address has had on the stock market. Pfizer's been to court again, lost. You know, governments don't have the right to sort of give immunity to companies, and you know that if there's any injury caused by the medical instruments that they've given out to millions of people across the globe, that if it kills you, causes long COVID or whatever it might be, that the insurance companies are not paying out. You see, and again, insurance companies are not paying out, not because the people that are running these insurance companies need to keep their profits. So they're not having any profits if we've got to pay out on people making claims. Hence the euthanasia bill. They're having discussions about euthanasia. I can't believe that we're having this even talking about this stuff. We're supposed to be a Christian country. Suicide's not okay in any of its forms. And how can you encourage other people to participate in ending somebody's life? And we're talking about this. We're paying people you know, as our alleged betters, to have discussions about how to reduce the health bill of the country. That's what it is. It's boiled down to money. That's the kind of play. So yeah, absolutely, make Albion great again, because we weren't into that. You got some corporate homo testicle trans. Look, don't get me started. You know, put all of that. Meanwhile, the world has gone to hell in a handbasket. But it's only the Western world that's gone to hell in a handbasket. Everything that has been held in the dark is coming to light. And that is one of the reasons for me why there's a bit of a delay, you know. And people have already known, as I say, people have already known about Jasara and Sarah. They've known about UNDRIP. They've known about BRICS. People have denied the BRICS thing. You know, I've had lots of comments going, yeah, the BRICS is not happening. Well, do your own research. Do your own due diligence then. And there is greater change on its way. All your favourite pop stars and film stars and entertainers and politicians, yeah, what of the religious leaders, all those platforms, and I said this 2 years ago, they're all defunct and de facto. It's not an issue really, but I knew this 2 years ago, maybe more, right? Knew it from actually the start of lockdown, but nobody believed me. That's what I'm noticing now. Nobody, I wasn't believed. People thought I was crazy. I've been accused of being a terrorist, and blah blah blah. Now we can see who true terrorists are, who the true liars, thieves, and killers are, and what it is that they've been doing in order for the truth not to be, to keep secrets, to keep things in the dark. Now we're seeing what has been held in the dark, who's been trying to keep it in the dark, and their motivations for trying to keep it in the dark. To keep this monstrous system of parasitic, child abusing, woman hating society under the guise of whatever you want to call it. It's terrible. Till the next time, may your ERP and your spirituality remain strong. True Brit, gone.